I want to bring in Brigadier General Mark Kimmitt as well as Jonathan Schanzer, the Senior Vice President for Research at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. He served as a terrorism finance analyst at the Treasury Department. And General Kimmitt, you're here with me in the street. Let me go to you first. What's your reaction to what we saw overnight? I mean, yes, Israel retaliated, but is it the kind of retaliatory strike that might sort of calm things down for the moment?
I think it will calm things down. Yeah. But more importantly, what I think it's going to do is move this war back into the shadows. 45 years Iran and Israel have been fighting each other, quote, in the shadows. This month was the first time it came out. I think both countries want to get this back into the shadows.
Yeah, I mean, there's a dangerous element to this, is there not, in that both sides struck each other in their own territory over this past week. I mean, you can say, well, Israel was able to knock out, along with that coalition that came together, knock out all of those missiles and rockets and drones that were coming in, and Iran didn't really sustain that much damage, but something has been breached here.
Well, in fact, Israel has gone into Iran many, many times in this shadow war.
In the shadow war.
We're not really sure what Iran has done. The Israelis probably wouldn't admit it if it had been done in any case. But I don't necessarily believe this breaching of this line between attacking the countries rather than through proxies really did anything more than show both sides they want to get back to status quo. There has been some reciprocity and some balance re-achieved. The real question is, has deterrence been achieved again?
Yeah, Jonathan, what do you think about that? Has some level of deterrence been achieved, as the general was just saying?
I do. I think actually the Israelis had done something fairly remarkable last night, and I'm not sure that it's fully registered here or even around the region. They used some kind of standoff weapon last night. Some people are saying it was a glide bomb. Other people are saying that we don't even know what it's called, but they fired it from quite far away. They were able to actually penetrate Iranian air defenses without alerting anyone that it had happened. And they did so in an area that was near some of those nuclear facilities that Iran would like to protect. What the Israelis have essentially done is to say, look, you've just tried to attack us and you failed. We have sent roughly 10% of the munitions that you sent our way. We sent them to you. And we were able to hit things that made you blind, that you are now unable to protect the facilities, some of those nuclear facilities that you treasure. And so what the Israelis have said is, if you keep doing this, you're going to lose a lot more. You're going to lose your eyesight around the country in areas that you never even thought you could lose. And so I think that there has been some deterrence reestablished here on the part of Israel. I would actually even dare say that the Iranians have swallowed this, that they want to move on because they now understand through messages sent kinetically and I think also verbally from the United States or maybe Germany or other partners, that this is a war that the Iranians can ill afford.
Yeah, I mean, General Kimmitt, I mean, what about that? And also, the U.S. was given some kind of advance warning before this took place last night, and it was communicated that the administration was not entirely on board, was not on board with this. Does that indicate that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not listening to the president, or maybe it indicates that he did?
In fact, I think throughout the war against Gaza and now this war against Iran, it is clear that Prime Minister Netanyahu is more focused on his own national interests, his own national security. It's great to get advice from your friends, but at the end of the day, he is the one that's responsible for protecting Israel. And that doesn't matter if somebody else from Washington, D.C. tells him otherwise. Now, regarding the target, what's very interesting about the target was it was in Isfahan, near Natanz. But let's be candid. That facility is built into a mountain. Very little chance significant damage could have been done. This was performative. This was a show of force, nothing more.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I remember from my days at the White House that the Israelis are, I mean, they are hyper-focused on these nuclear facilities in Iran, and that target in particular seems to speak a lot of volumes, speak volumes. What do you think?
I do. I mean, again, you know, when you look at the Isfahan area, there are a number of facilities actually that I think the Iranians would like to safeguard there. I would also just note here that there is some broader geopolitical implications that we need to look at. This was Russian air defenses that were penetrated last night. And I do wonder whether there's a message that can be sent even to the Russians in the battlefield in Ukraine that the Israelis have something here, whatever it was last night that they used, that maybe the U.S. can now deploy if we wanted to, if we even have those capabilities. But certainly I think the Iranians have to be quaking a little bit here because they were unable to detect what happened. I think they're still scrambling to figure out how the Israelis did this last night. And I think that is what is, I think, pushing everybody to maybe take a step back and pause and reassess.